It is going to be a tankathon kind of fall and winter around here, and they got a game against the Patriots that's going to play into all of that because the Patriots are 2-7 now. Maybe Kyler Murray gets back for Arizona. Maybe I don't know if they'll stay with Tyson Bagent out in Chicago or they'll go back to Justin Fields. And there's a lot of things that still can happen here. But I would just think that if you're a Giant fan right now, you'd love to get your hands on one of the top three quarterbacks coming out in the NFL draft. What the actual situation is in regards to everybody after Caleb Williams and who people like and who people don't like. All I know is that on Saturday night at the Coliseum out there, USC Washington, there was a large contingent, very large contingent of scouts from the NFL, including Joe Schoen and the New York Giants.
Yep, that's right. And he should be there. He wouldn't be doing his job if he wasn't there. And when we think about that contract with Daniel Jones that he signed, there was an out after the first 2 years. So I don't even expect him. You tear your ACL in November. Are we even going to see him play a game with the Giants ever again? I mean, if he comes back next year, I mean, what is the point? And then and think about this, if they end up drafting one of these guys and Daniel Jones is sitting there rehabbing, I mean, I can't even imagine what that's going to be like, the awkwardness next year if Daniel Jones is still on the roster rehabbing an ACL to come back to a team that he's not even wanted by anymore.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, they do owe him $41 million guaranteed next year. So, and it's really unfortunate what's happening to Daniel and what happened to him this year, especially after last year. I thought that it was going to be a much better year for him, that he was going to be able to take the next step and he was going to become, a legitimate, 30 to 35 touchdown pass quarterback. And unfortunately, a neck injury, a knee injury, and this injury yesterday was just one of those really, unfortunate situations that so many players end up going through. And I don't really know. Like Cam Akers yesterday. So you're running back from Minnesota.
Yeah.
He blows out his other Achilles. Remember, he's the one that came back from the Speed Bridge Achilles operation that Aaron Rodgers underwent. Mm-hmm. And yesterday, he ruptures the other one.
Yeah, I know. Just horrendous. And I thought about how many conversations we had about Cam Akers being the guy that everybody was pointing to, that if Aaron Rodgers is going to come back, there was an example of somebody that did it in Cam Akers. I mean, just brutal. Just absolutely brutal for him. So, yeah, I mean, and it's a real easy out of this Daniel Jones contract after 2024, after next year. I mean, it is
Well, that's why it was written the way it was written.
So there's you have a dead cap if you release him. You get a dead cap after June 1st, that is, which they would designate it that. There's a dead cap of $11 million, and you get a cap savings of $30 million. I mean,
but then you'd have other cap numbers later on, and I think that's
it's just 2026, $11 million the next year too.
Right. So my thing would be, that's probably what they would end up doing, depending on how the draft goes and who they do draft, because I don't think you can have him because he's too young. It would be one thing if he were 38 and he were towards the end of his career like Eli Manning was when he got here.
Right.
But that's not the case. I mean, he still sees himself right in the prime of his career, and he's going to have to rehab his ass off, and he's going to have to somehow, some way, probably hook on with another team somewhere. And again, this is all speculation. I don't know.
But is it though? I mean, it sounds like it's over. Is he really going to come back and be the Giants quarterback?
No, I don't believe so. But I don't necessarily know that I want to come in here and just start piling dirt on him, especially after he blew his knee out.
But it's not. I know, and we're not doing that in a mean way. It's just this is the reality of it. I mean, I don't want to sit here and say, "Oh, maybe Daniel Jones, get out of here, you stink." I don't want to do that today because it sucks for him.
I would tell you, even if they lost games and he was their quarterback and he was playing reasonably well, and they were at the top of this draft, they would have to take one of these top 2 or 3 guys. They would have to.
Yeah, I mean, and they're going to have to now. That's just how bad is it going to get? Really, is the thing. Are we going to see Tommy DeVito for the rest of the year? Is Tyrod Taylor going to get healthy enough to come back and play? Are they going to put Tommy DeVito in there so they could lose more games than other teams? I mean, it's going to be. It's just going to be a long slog to the end where they could end up having another 2, 3, or 4 win season.
And not that it's any great shakes, but they do have Matt Barkley on the squad. He was up with Daboll and those guys up in Buffalo. He knows the offense. I'm not saying it depends. I mean, it really depends. I mean, the coach at this point is going to give maybe the reps to a guy who he believes deserves it, and that would be Tommy DeVito. It's not his fault that he's playing. And quite frankly, he's had for himself, I can't even imagine the memories that he's now making for himself.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know where that's going to ever end up, but all I know is that here's a local kid. It's pretty cool. He's playing for his local team, even though they're getting their asses kicked. I mean, if you just scrape away all the outer layings of this and all the crap that's gone on around this team, I mean, for this young man, he's got an opportunity to do something that very few people in this country do, and that's play for his own football team, his hometown football team.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that I did mention after the loss to the Jets, that even though it didn't go the way the Giants wanted, him running that touchdown in and looking up to the crowd and having that moment, being that local kid, is pretty cool. But I mean, he
actually can throw.
He can, yes. We saw that. We saw that yesterday. He certainly can. But so I guess if we're going to assume that things are probably going to change at the quarterback position now with this Daniel Jones injury, are we going to see John Mara have some sort of patience with Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen if this thing goes the way we expect it to go the rest of the year? Is he not going to make a move after 2 years again because he's tired of the losing and actually have some continuity here?
Well, it all depends how this season ends. There's a long way to go. We're only about halfway through, believe it or not. And it feels like we've been playing football in this season for, like 6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just been such a slog for both of these teams. But I think you got to see how the season ends. You got to sit down with your coaches, your front office, your scouting staff. You got to have hard conversations with all of those guys. Somebody could end up getting fired off of the staff, offensive, defensive. You never know. The other thing, too, is I will say this about Brian Daboll. He's the same guy speaking after games this year as he was last year. It's the same guy. He's telling you the same things. He's not talking himself into some sort of firing like Joe Judge, I felt like did, where Joe Judge was trying to defend every decision he was making and how he was trying to change the culture of the locker room and all this other crap. You don't really hear that from Brian.
Yeah, I would stick with Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen. I know that this looks bad and the season is gone off the rails, but unless you can somehow extract Bill Belichick with a trade out of New England like we hear that the Commanders are going to try to do, then I don't want to bring in another coordinator or another first-time head coach or something like that. There was really no reason to do that. I like Brian Daboll. I think that Joe Schoen, some of the decisions are going to be questioned. Maybe that's the guy that more heat is on. But if I'm John Mara, I exercise some patience for once and say, let's have some continuity. Let's give these guys a chance. They're going to draft the quarterback that they want, and that'll be their legacy, whoever that guy is.
Assuming there's a lot of things that go on. Like, I don't know if Bill Belichick's available. I don't know, if another coach shakes loose that you may be interested in. Who knows? Nobody knows any of that. I mean, that's the thing that we're just trying to sit here and figure out. Look, I know that the New England Giants game is going to be for, whoever loses that game is getting the higher draft pick.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So that's something to look forward to a little bit down the road. If you're New England, you got to get on a plane and go play Indianapolis in Germany this week. Oh, God. Oh, boy.
I didn't think about that. I mean, they got a great game. Frankfurt got a great game and great teams yesterday morning, but that's going to be a brutal one. That's a tough sell. That is a tough sell for everybody. And I don't think anybody's paying attention to that one on this coming Sunday morning. But yeah, so the teams that are in the mix now. So you're going to see. I don't know if Shedeur Sanders comes out. I don't know what Caleb Williams is going to do in a bizarre scene after that game where he climbs into the stands and
weird.
Is crying with his mother shielding him with some sort of cardboard or whatever that was. I mean, I don't even know what to make of that. But you've got Penix, you've got Drake May, you've got Caleb Williams, maybe Shedeur Sanders,
Jalen Daniels.
Jalen Daniels is one we haven't talked about as much.
Yep.
But yeah, he's another one. So this is that draft where there's
Quinn Ewers,
lots of guys. That this is not like the Carson Wentz, Jared Goff draft where guys I think got a little bit overrated and went 1 and 2.
I'll be looking for that big Penix. You know what I think here? I think that this is more of the Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa draft.
Yeah.
Where there's one clear consensus, number one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the debate starts, okay, who's going second and who's going third? That's what I think. And it's turned out pretty good for all the teams that ended up drafting those guys, I think. I think they're really happy with their quarterbacks, even though Miami can't beat a team with a winning record away from home.
Yep, that is true. That's a little bit disappointing for the Dolphins and their fans. And I love the Dolphins this past week. It's the only pick that I had lost yesterday. I really thought that they were going to win that game, but the Chiefs sort of figured it out. But yeah, this is the situation. I mean, it's depressing. It's that we're doing this again. I mean, I really didn't think we'd be doing this again. I mean, when going into this season with the Aaron Rodgers-led Jets and the Giants coming off a season where they went to the divisionals, I didn't think we'd be talking about who the Giants would get in the draft. Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, Drake. I mean, it's shocking as we sit here at 2-7 and Daniel Jones out for the year.
You know, the interesting thing is what is going to happen with Arizona, what is going to happen with the Chicago Bears, and what is going to happen with the Carolina Panthers. Because those are the three teams that you got to look at if you are the New York Giants. And, of course, the Patriots, too, because they're right there as well. So the Cardinals are 1-8. The Carolina Panthers are 1-7. And then you have 3 2-7 teams, and that's the Patriots, Bears, and Giants. And the Cardinals are going to get back Kyler Murray. Wouldn't be surprised if he plays this coming weekend.
Well, just remember, though, the Bears have both their pick and the Panthers'
Carolina,
pick. So the Carolina is not going to matter in that
but Carolina does matter because it will impact the Bears.
Right, exactly. But I'm just saying that the thing about why they don't matter is the fact that they're not making a pick and they already have a quarterback. All those other teams, including the Bears, are going to want a quarterback.
Well, it does matter if they continue to lose because the Bears have that pick.
Right.
That's why it matters.
But yes, but the point that I'm trying to make is of all the teams in that list that would not take a quarterback, the Panthers are that team.
You never know. You never know. You never know. I'm telling you, you never know. But again, the Panthers won't be up there anyway. It doesn't matter.
Right. So the Giants, the point I'm trying to make is the Giants, if they're in that mix, are going to be going up against all those teams that also want a quarterback.
Yes.
And that makes it even more difficult to get the guy that you want.
Now, the one thing out of Arizona, now, again, here we are halfway through the season. You don't know how the twists and turns and the relationships evolve, and that would be Kyler Murray coming back for Arizona. Now, because of his contract and how significant it is, you know, the Cardinals may be stuck keeping him and trying to build around him. And so they may take one of these top wide receivers at the top of the draft or trade out if they have the number 1 overall pick and then try to acquire more assets and where they could end up with 3 first-round picks this year. You know, that's something that you gotta factor in here, that if they do end up with the number 1 pick, you know, that number 1 pick is going to be worth a lot this year.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be worth a ton.
Absolutely. All right, just getting started on this Giants Monday morning after they get blown out by the Vegas Raiders yesterday out in Vegas.